Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, attraction coach and founder of The Goddess Next Door. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Kerry Rowett is a kinesiologist based in Adelaide, Australia, who works with her predominantly female entrepreneurial clients via Skype. Her clients range from those starting out in a healing, coaching, or other small business to highly established entrepreneurs turning over $1 million or more. Her focus with all clients is on helping them to create a state of greater energetic alignment in their lives and businesses. Today, Kerry and I talk about how difficult it can be to get into alignment, but how essential it is if you want to have a thriving life and business that feels good for you. But before I talk with Kerry today, do you desire a deeper understanding of your spirituality? How about the metaphysical world? And what about the laws of the universe? In the Spark Spiritual Academy, we explore metaphysical and lifestyle topics where we give you the keys in easy-to-use, bite-sized pieces to create the life you want. Spark Spiritual Academy offers a monthly collection of inspiring, thought-provoking information in one convenient place. Each month, you'll get a new collection of bonus material from the Awakened Goddess Show experts. You'll also get journal exercises, meditations, and resources to put into practice and create quantum leaps forward in your life. Join us today and ignite your brilliance within. See you there! Well, welcome, Kerry, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I am absolutely thrilled, over the moon, to have you join me today on the show to talk about how getting into alignment can change your business and life. So, this has been a personal struggle of mine for years. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So first off, you are a kinesiologist. So for people that don't know what that is, how about we start there? What is a kinesiologist? And how do you work with entrepreneurial clients?
Sure. So, yes, as you say, I'm a kinesiologist. So kinesiology is a type of natural therapy. So I know in the US it tends to be associated with movement, but there is also holistic kinesiology, which is what I do. So it's kind of like a blend between coaching and counseling and energy work, and we use a lot of Chinese medicine principles behind what it is that we do. And the key thing with kinesiology is to do with the way we find the information. So the way we find your imbalances and how we find out what you need to correct them, which is through using muscle testing. Mm-hmm. So when I work with my clients, we work on, identifying what the goals are for that person and what their stresses are. And then throughout the session, I use muscle testing to find out what is preventing that person from achieving the things that they would like to achieve, and what it is that they need to bring them back into this state of alignment or back into a state of balance. So when I started out in kinesiology, so when I started practicing, that was back in 2009, I didn't work with very many entrepreneurial clients at that time. I got into kinesiology because it really changed my life and really cleared a long-standing depression that I had been experiencing. So, of course, when I started practicing, those were the clients I really was focused on attracting. So I worked a lot with anxiety and depression and self-esteem, self-confidence, that kind of thing, because I already knew it was incredibly transformational for that. But I turned out to have a really personal interest in business, and I really wanted to create and grow a successful business. So I found myself learning a lot around that, and I found myself increasingly attracting a lot of practitioners and other business owners who I found were able to really grow their businesses and really create a lot of change through the kinesiology. And kinesiology was also a way that I grew my own business through clearing the blocks that were preventing me from being able to move forwards and to flourish. So over time, that just increased, and I began to see more and more entrepreneurs until about 18 months ago, I moved my business online and started working with my clients nearly exclusively via Skype. And now nearly all of my clients are entrepreneurial and they're around the world. So I'm here in Australia, in Adelaide, but my clients are throughout Australia and many of them are overseas in the US, Canada, in the UK particularly.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're kind of like a best kept secret of really successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and some of my clients do describe me that way. And, I've got still some of my clients are maybe just starting out in their business, but I have many clients now who have multi-six-figure businesses. And at this time, maybe 5 or 6 clients who businesses are turning over $1 million or more. Like they're some really successful people who know that when they clear the blocks that are, they're causing them to block themselves, then they continue to grow.
Sure. Yeah. So it sounds like you're talking a lot about living in alignment. So what does that mean for you?
So I guess, for all of us, we can just think about a goal that we might have. So we think about the goal of having a successful business. If we're in alignment, then what we say, what we think, how we feel, what we do are all going to be congruent with that goal. And of course, a lot of people find that isn't the case. So it might instead be, you want to have this successful business, but in your mind, your thoughts are saying you're not good enough. Who's going to come and see you? There's so many people out there who are already doing this. Who are you to make money out of this? Or it might be that your behaviors or actions are letting you down. So you're saying the right things and maybe you're even thinking the right things, but there's no action. So you're not getting the actual outcomes that you want. So when we are in alignment, we're united and we're moving forwards and we're actually creating those things in our life that we say that we want.
Wow, that sounds super simple, but I think it's just like so challenging because, even if you know what you're supposed to do, right? Air quotes. It's like, it's not always easy to do those things. Or maybe, like you say, you have those, the thoughts in your mind or those limiting beliefs or whatever shows up for you, like those old patterns, and they just get in the way, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. And so I see so many really talented people who are not achieving the kinds of outcomes that they want, or they're not attracting the number of clients that they really should be attracting, or they're not making the kind of money that they really should be making. And oftentimes it's because we're getting in our own way. It's quite often they might have some of the right strategies. They've already learned quite a lot about what they need to do, but they can just feel like, I just feel stuck, or I feel overwhelmed, or I'm in procrastination. I'm just kind of spinning my wheels, or why is this not flowing? So I guess that's where something like kinesiology can come in, because it can help you identify and clear those things. Otherwise, it can just go around and around and around in your mind, and you're still not actually moving forward.
Girlfriend, you're talking about the last, 20 years of my life. And the crazy thing is I've done so many freaking things. I'm a trained therapist. I'm a transformational life coach. I've done energy work. All of this stuff. And it's like, whoa, sometimes I feel like I know too much and I just put up those invisible obstacles or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the clients I see have done a lot of work previously. So if someone has done something like therapy, or they have done a lot of counseling, or even sometimes coaching, they might have found that they really get it on a mental level. So that, I think that's what you're talking about, where it's like we understand and we know, and sometimes we almost know too much.
Yes.
And it's actually become a story and a dialogue, and we can talk ourselves out of something or into something, but there isn't that really deep congruence and that ability to just break through and move forward. So that's where I found, and that's, I guess, why I got into kinesiology in the first place, because I found someone like me also who's a real thinker, it actually kind of broke through that and just allowed me to move and to flow.
Yeah, so it kind of like bypasses the brain and it talks to your body, right? It's like
That's
what your
right.
energy is saying.
Exactly. When we're muscle testing, that's exactly what we're doing. We're asking your body, your subconscious mind, your higher self, what do you need? So it's not about my opinion or what I think. I'm like the translator, and I'm helping you to understand the messages that are coming up for you. So I think that's why it's so powerful, because even if I was just trying to listen to somebody and just with my mind trying to understand what was going on, I'll often get something that's quite different from what will come up if I'm muscle testing. So quite often in a session, I might say, well, that's a surprise. Let's see if we can understand what that means. When we get to that surprising thing, we've bypassed the conscious mind, and that's where the gold is.
I love it. Ooh, that sounds like so easy. It sounds like, because being an entrepreneur, for example, this is what we're talking about, and you have this passion, you have this desire, you have these great ideas, and you feel fired up, and you work your magic, you put something together, you put it out there, and then maybe nothing happens, right? And it's like you go through this process. I speak from experience, right? You go through this process of thinking, oh my gosh, what do I need to fix? Does it cost too much? Does it cost too little? Is it too long? Is it too short? Is it the wrong topic? Did I have the wrong title? It's all this nonsense. And I love this, that you can just bypass that, simplify, and it's just like so easy, and you can be at peace.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. It's that ability to be able to be at peace. So with those, that concept that you just mentioned of putting something out there and you're not sure about price, or you're not sure about message, within a kinesiology session, you can align to the pricing. You can align to attracting people to that program. You can align to it being the content that your participants and clients want and need, and it being, the best use of your time and energy in this moment. And then if you've done all of that work, so often people will find that they get better results. And then they would also find, if they're not getting the exact result they actually desire, they've got more clarity about straight away, I sense it's this is what needs to change, or this is what I need to add, or I know who I need to ask, or I'm actually going to approach some of my clients directly and ask their opinion. But you don't go into a whole bunch of story, you don't go into overwhelm, you don't go into fear. You're just going to stay in this greater sense of flow and action.
Yeah, I love that. Ooh. So I kind of threw myself out there, and I let Kerry know that I was a willing participant to kind of be an example. And so Kerry's going to walk me through kind of her process. And so you guys can go along for the ride and kind of also walk yourself through the process. So why don't we just jump in and see what happens?
Absolutely. So this is really exciting. So what we're going to be using right now is my alignment process. So this process came to me back in 2011. So this was like a download. It just came to me. And at that time, I used it in a short teleclass series where I worked with other entrepreneurs, and it was really, really successful. And it's also part of a program I have right now called Align and Attract. So the reason why I find this process is so powerful is because I can teach it to you, but then you can use this process yourself to align to your own goals and to find out what is blocking you and to bring yourself back into alignment. Because really, when I was growing my own business in those early days, and even now, I do a lot of work on myself to keep myself in alignment. So,
I bet you're muscle testing everything.
Sure. So we're going to be working on a goal for you. And the goal that we decided on was I'm 100% aligned to allowing wealth. So I just want to ask you, how are you feeling around that goal right at this moment? So if you think about this idea of allowing wealth.
It's exciting. It's a little, I definitely got this like shooting bit of adrenaline up through my kind of like my solar plexus. So
yeah, right. Okay.
So I don't know if it's
so how do you feel about the way that's showing up at the moment in your life?
Oh, it's not showing up. So
right.
it's the opposite of that.
Okay. Because this is what we we want. When we're working on a goal, we want it to be certainly something that is not existing in your world right now, and that's something you want to bring in. So when you go through this process, you develop your goal and you really look into how is this showing up now? What does this look like? How does this feel? And so what we're going to do now is to find out the number one thing that's blocking you from this goal. So we're going to be using my chakra cards, which you get in my Align and Track program, you get with my DIY kinesiology kit. So let's find out. And the way that these blocks are organized is according to the chakra system. And so there are blocks for each of the chakras. So let's find out specifically what is the number one thing that is blocking you from being 100% aligned to allowing wealth. Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to show you what's coming up for you. And are you able to read that?
Oh, yeah. Brow, the perception. Mm-hmm. Interesting. That is like so not what I expected.
So interesting when it's something that you just completely are not expecting. Yeah. So if we think about brow perceptions, it's to do with the way you're perceiving wealth. So let's just briefly talk. Like, what are some of the perceptions you have about creating wealth, do you think? Like, for example, do you think it's easy? Do you think it's hard? Do you think that...
Well, I believe it can be easy, but I know it's never been easy for me, and I have really struggled. It always feels like it's just out of my reach, and that there's also something about having to do something that I don't want to do, something that doesn't feel good.
Got it. And that's it. So it's like my perception is what I'm hearing from you, that to achieve wealth or to receive wealth, I'm going to have to do something I don't want to do.
Darn it.
And it might be a little bit hard. And I think it should be easy. Or I feel, I want it to be easy, but I feel like it's going to involve like something, I don't quite know what, because my perception's a little off, but and it also feels like it's way over there. I'm here, wealth's over there.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to get you to close your eyes for me now.
Okay.
And I want you to feel into your body. So this goal that we're working on is around you being 100% aligned to allowing wealth. And we've asked, what's the number one thing that's preventing you from being able to have this? And what's coming up is my perceptions are off. And I perceive that it's going to be really difficult, or it's going to involve me doing something I don't want to do. So I want you to tell me, whereabouts can you feel that block or that stress in your body around these perceptions that it's difficult?
I'd say my heart chakra, my chest.
Okay. And anywhere else, or just at the heart right now?
I think just there for now.
Okay, so I want you to go into your heart and I want you to tell me what is the sensation that's going along with that. So for example, it might be burning, it might be tight, it might be constricted, blocked, painful.
It's kind of like heart racing, maybe a little scared.
Yeah, I was feeling that as well. So it's like it's scary.
Protected, yeah. Like I want to...
I want wealth. And it's even like when I first said the goal to you, you said, oh, I just got this adrenaline rush. So I guess it's not feeling like a normalized, easy, flowing thing that's just a step away. It's feeling like, oh, very exciting, but scary, but it's way over there. It's not anywhere near my current reality. So I'm just going to get you to open your eyes and shake that out.
Yeah, I think something about vulnerability.
Vulnerable.
Well, I'm thinking that's where that fear comes in, because that's kind of been a theme for me.
Got it. Okay. So now I want you to tell me, how would you like to be able to feel about allowing wealth? What would you like your perception to be?
That it flows easily.
Yes.
That I get to do what I love to do that feels exciting, and I feel exhilarated and connected when I'm doing it.
Yes. I feel like there needs to be something, feeling exhilarated is great and feeling excited is great, but we also want this to feel like it's just a normal thing.
Yes. Well, I want to feel more feminine.
Feminine, yeah. Yes. Because that's the thing, isn't it? That's the word you used was allowing. Yeah. Allowing wealth. So we don't want it to be like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting, I'm out there. And this actually comes up for my clients who are working towards really quite large, or what a lot of us would consider quite large income goals, what I find comes up is it's really around normalizing that. Mm-hmm. So that building the 2 million company is just like, well, it's just a $2 million company, rather than like, oh my God, that would be so exciting.
Yeah.
That energy just is not very supportive of us manifesting. We just want it to be like, well, that's what's going to happen next because these are the steps I'm taking, and it feels really, really good,
natural,
but not over the top exciting. So I want you to close your eyes for me again. And this time, I just want you to imagine what it might be like if you were 100% aligned to allowing wealth. So just imagining what it might feel like if this was flowing easily for you, if you just got to do what you love and it felt really feminine and you just felt really connected. And yeah, it was exciting, but exciting and just like, this is my life. This is the way things go for me. I'm allowing wealth. It's just growing. It's just something that's in my life. I don't even really need to think about it too much because it's just always coming in and I'm holding on to it beautifully and it's flowing and moving. So if you were able to feel like it was just really easy and you were really aligned to allowing wealth, where do you think you would feel that in your body?
In my solar plexus.
Okay, so I want you to go into the solar plexus and I want you to tell me what's the sensation that you are getting there.
Well, I just want to back up just for a second, because I noticed that my chest has like increased in, like when you were going through that, it increased in intensity, and I almost felt like I couldn't even connect with what you were saying. I was like,
so it's like brought up a little bit more of a layer of stress for you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's open your eyes for a second. Let's back up one step. What's the story that's going along with that? Let's clear that quickly for you. What's the belief or the feeling or the thought?
Like, I can't have that.
Oh.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It just felt so foreign.
Yeah, it's like, so there you go. It shows you why you're not creating it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually really giving you a very clear indication. You can go, oh, that's why it's not in my reality. Yeah, it just feels like so wrong. So we're just going to do a tiny little bit of EFT. So I just want you to tap on the outside of your hand for me. And I just want you to repeat after me. Even though I can't have what I really want.
Even though I can't have what I really want.
I deeply and completely love myself.
I deeply and completely love myself.
Even though there's no way I can allow wealth.
Even though there's no way I can allow wealth.
I deeply and completely love myself.
I deeply and completely love myself.
Even though I have no idea how I could possibly allow wealth.
You know, I have no idea how I could possibly allow wealth.
But I deeply and completely love myself.
But I deeply and completely love myself.
For those of you who are listening, I get the feeling there's going to be a lot of people who are resonating right now, so I hope you're joining us.
Always tapping away on their hands.
Tap away on your hand and just joining with us. Even though I cannot possibly have wealth in my life.
Even though I can't possibly have wealth in my life.
I deeply and completely love myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Oh, did I add that?
That's perfect. Okay. Shake it out. Do it either way. Love or love and accept is both are great. Right. Now, let's do that again. So closing your eyes. That feels better.
Yeah.
And now I want you to imagine what it might feel like if you were able to allow wealth. So it doesn't need to be something that even feels to be possible or true for you right now. You're just imagining. Just imagining what it might feel like if you could, and if you could flow, and if you got to have what you want, and it felt feminine, and you just felt like, oh yeah, that's for me. I get to have that.
You know, what was funny? What the image that came to mind was Superwoman with her hands on her hips, and I'm like, dun, 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 dun.
And you know, sometimes when we do this, yeah, you do get the urge to stand or to move in a particular way. So I think after we finish that call, that's your homework. You need to stand in that position, stand in Superwoman position, and just really anchor into this and imagining what it might feel like if you were 100% aligned to wealth and you felt connected and it was easy. So when you feel into that now, do you still get that sensation? Do you get that feeling at your solar plexus?
No, it's just it just fairly neutral.
Fairly neutral. Okay. Are you able to get a sensation anywhere in your body around, if you really anchor into imagining what it would be like if you could create and allow wealth?
Well, I feel something again in my chest, but it feels like it's more like self-love.
Yeah, beautiful. That's what we're looking for. Is it's going to be usually, or nearly always, it's going to be a really positive sensation of just allowing. So what is the sensation that goes along with that self-love? So for example, it might be warmth, or it might be openness, or it might be tingling, or something along those lines.
Warmth, for sure. Feels like almost a little bit of pressure. It's weird.
Yeah. So just as you're just sitting there and just breathing into that, I just want you to allow that pressure to disperse and for there not to be pressure around this. It's just something that you're experimenting with allowing, and just allowing yourself to feel what it might be like if you could experience this without the pressure, without having to go into the mind and to figure it out, just allowing your body to understand and to feel and to sense what this would be like. Beautiful. So you can now open your eyes. How is that sitting for you at the moment? How do you feel now? And it's not to say it's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I can go do that tomorrow. But how do you feel now if you think about this idea of being allowing wealth?
It feels more comfortable, natural. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, like it's not this far-fetched idea.
Yeah, it's just like, allowing wealth. Yes, that's something I can do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then what you'll tend to find, and I think you'll find this afterwards, is you start to just, because it's a bit closer, and I encourage you to continue to anchor into that feeling, is to feel like, okay, well, you'll start to get some inspiration and some ideas, like maybe I could do this, and maybe I should do that. And we take some of the practical steps that will bring that into our reality. Because if something stays too theoretical or just like this, metaphysical idea, like we want this to manifest in your reality. We want this to be a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So then what would it look like to kind of follow along on the alignment trail, like in the practical steps? So I just walked through this, or someone walks themselves through this process. Then you say, okay, so it's like you're kind of observing to see what comes up. Just kind of like inspiration. Is that what we're doing? Or?
Well, what actually you are doing is you're giving your body the experience of being able to feel, first of all, what it's like the way you are not aligned. So you actually get to see that. And sometimes it can come up as a shock. Like when you actually tune into that goal, like for you might think, allowing wealth, I don't really understand why I'm not able to experience that or to achieve that. But when you felt into the block, you could actually see why you're not achieving it. Because it's over there, or it was over there, and because of those perceptions that you had. And then when you allow yourself to really explore and experience what it might feel like to be in alignment with that goal, you're giving your body the physical sensation of that. You're building a sense of whether it's memory, a resonance around that, and a sense of alignment around that. So you actually begin to feel and understand and experience what it feels like. When you feel that way, you're so much more likely to take actions that are going to support that goal. Because most times people will find they feel a greater sense of ease, they feel a greater sense of flow, they feel a greater sense of confidence, and they feel more tapped into their own wisdom about the steps that they now need to take to move themselves forwards. So it's really about, building your own sense of self-leadership, your own sense of strength and power and certainty about like that you do know what you need to do. You do know how to move forwards when you're in a state of alignment.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like, it flows much more easily.
That's right.
It's like
rather than being in your head and overthinking and trying to understand, it's just like, when you're in that space of alignment, we all make better decisions and take more appropriate actions and get inspiration that's going to really guide us to where we want to go.
So I'm curious, one of the things that has been a challenge, I know, has been the marketing aspect. So putting, I'll kind of do the creation, a lot of the creation piece. And then when it comes time to actually putting it out there, right? Then it seems like there's weird energy around that. So is that just like the challenge that comes from the block we just cleared, or is that something else?
What I encourage with the alignment stuff is you do quite a lot of aligning on quite a lot of different goals. So what I was hearing in what you were just describing is some challenges potentially around visibility and around being able to, feeling like I can connect, feeling like it might be as well, like feeling like I can make money from my gifts, feeling like I can attract the exact right participants or the exact right clients it might be for somebody. So I will be doing goals around that. Then you're clearing on multiple different levels and layers. And then you might even do as a goal, I'm 100% aligned to taking the right marketing actions that will help me to connect the right participants for this program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And really doing some aligning around that, because what I've found is when you do quite a few alignments, you're actually creating kind of like a sense of momentum and like this positive alignment kind of wave that it then creates this much greater sense of flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
The other thing I was going to say is that in that example you gave, it might just be I'm 100% aligned to really clear communication that connects with my ideal clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like there's a lot of things that you can play with and align.
Exactly. They're exactly right. It's really going, what exactly do I want here? What do I feel like needs to happen so that I can get this amazing work out into the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know if the listeners that went through that exercise with us, I feel like extremely like it's that feeling I get when energy has been shifted and released. I'm like really shaky and like jittery inside. So
how interesting.
Yeah.
So there's obviously, there was something actually quite big for you there around that is now trying to move and shift. And as we all know, with energy work, that will probably continue to settle in for you over the next few hours, days, potentially even longer. And then you start to see sometimes, changes in your external world. But the fact that you're still feeling a little bit jittery tells me that was a big one for you, because quite oftentimes people will say they feel really quite calm and clear and grounded around their goal straight away. So when that is not the case, it says that is a big stress for you.
Ah. Well, hey.
Yeah. And that goal is a really big one for you. And the other thing you can do is sometimes align to that same goal several times and find and clear different blocks around that until you get to a space where that goal just feels neutral for you.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be listening to this over and over again myself. Walk myself through this many times. Yeah. So what are some other challenges like for people that don't by chance have an issue with money?
Yeah,
in their business? Like, what are some other challenges that can come up when you're living out of alignment?
Look, with entrepreneurs, like money is one of the big ones. It can also be things like connecting to ideal clients. A lot of my clients talk to me about boundary challenges. So they might find, for example, they get asked a lot of questions between sessions, or they've got, issues with time, or just the various different things that can come up around boundaries.
Sure.
What else? They can find that, they just really easily go into overwhelm, procrastination, and they don't take the actions that they need to take to move themselves forwards. They might lack confidence, they might lack self-belief. That comes up for a lot of people when they first start out. If they're working, particularly if it's one-on-one with people, they've got so much self-doubt and they're so focused on themselves and the job that they're doing that it makes it really, really difficult to focus on that client. And of course, when we're in self-doubt, it's very difficult to be attracting a lot of clients because we're, in fear.
Sure.
Fear is another really big one. So the fear of things going wrong, or this, you've taken a risk and gone down this path. Is this actually going to work out?
Mm-hmm.
I think many of us can relate to fears of different kinds. So certainly, misalignments can show up in lots of different ways for people.
Yeah, and certainly, like you say, money. I mean, there's so many facets to money. I know with spiritual entrepreneurs, especially the challenge of receiving the money. They put their gifts out there, but then allowing that money to come back in and create that energetic cycle is a challenge.
Exactly. I also see issues around pricing, people undercharging for their services, and then, even if they then are attracting the number of clients that they desire. This happened to me early in my business. I was really booked out, but I was undercharging, and so I was getting burnt out. And I was under pressure to really continue to see that number of clients, which was too many clients for me for the type of work that I do and the intensity that it is. So yes, this can be, with regards to money, you're right, there can be so many different issues around that. There can be pricing, there can just be a sense that it's, I can't make a certain amount of money and be a good person or be spiritual. Just blocks to abundance generally. Sometimes people have got themselves into a cycle where they just are really spending everything that comes in. And then even I see this sometimes with people who are able to generate really good revenue in their business, even in the hundreds of thousands. Sometimes because that pattern's so entrenched, they've still been spending it all. Mm-hmm. In different ways. So it's not really a wealth consciousness, and then goals might come up like, being able to release poverty or release being poor, and on the face of it there's no way that they are poor, but they really still feel poor because they're on this cycle where they need to actually keep on generating that same amount of revenue just to cover their costs.
Yeah. So what kind of blocks or beliefs are underlying things like that?
It's really hugely variable, and that's, I guess, the thing with kinesiology. It's always finding out specifically what it is for you. Sometimes it might be beliefs from childhood. So it might be, things that you heard parents say, or beliefs that you picked up around money and what it means to work hard. Sometimes people will feel they're stuck in this I must work hard. Mm-hmm. And there's a really strong belief around that, and they won't allow it to be easier. Or there just might be beliefs that I can't hold on to the money I've got, or, if I've got money, I need to spend it straight away before it goes, or I need to utilize it before it goes, or it's just not safe for me to have money sitting there. It's like if I have money sitting there, sometimes some people will believe or feel, even if it's quite subconscious or unconscious, that something bad might happen that's going to take that money away.
Yeah. Or
people, there's going to be
people won't approve of them because, they have money, and then all the stuff that maybe comes with that.
Absolutely, that comes up as well. It's like, I've had that with a few different people, especially if they're quite involved in spiritual community. It's like, it can actually be a part of feeling a sense of belonging. Sometimes people are bonding with peers over money struggles. So they don't really want to release that subconsciously because they want to stay connected to the group. And then if all of a sudden they're thriving, what are they going to connect over? That can be the belief. Obviously, when we look at that logically, we say, oh, that's that. I don't need to do that anymore. But sometimes, within a session, people realize, oh my gosh, that's totally what's playing out. And I don't want to be too shiny, and I don't want to be too bright, and I don't really want to stand out. I don't want people to criticize me or judge me. So if I stay in struggle, I'm just like the others.
Yeah, wow.
That can be perception.
All the ways we can just sabotage ourselves in just like little subtle ways or big ways.
Yeah, that's right. It can be really huge.
Well, so I'm curious, do you find that, because I know your specialty is female entrepreneurs, I'm wondering, do you notice the trend about women taking on a lot of the masculine energy and how that gets in their way in business? Or do you
that can definitely happen, and because they, especially, when we're starting out our business or in the first few years, even later on, it takes a lot of drive, it takes a lot of energy. There can be some pushing and some striving and some achieving So you're right. Like, we can really go into a masculine space. And some of the women that I work with, I do work with some men, but it's predominantly women. Some of the women I work with, that's part of what they are working with me on when they've got their business at a higher level, is they're really wanting to restore balance. And they're wanting to give energy to the other areas of their life. For example, they're wanting to really manage their own energy, because for any of us, if we stay in that really masculine, striving, pushing place, we will create things like adrenal fatigue. Like, none of us can just stay in that space of just working ridiculously hard indefinitely. It doesn't work. So I agree with you, and it's being able to find that balance, isn't it, where you can still feel that you can achieve, because I think sometimes people fear that. They're like, oh, I don't want to not achieve. And we can associate achievement with I have to push. Yeah. A lot of people do find that when they are able to, get more balance around this, or they're able to even pull back or be a little bit smarter about the way they work and the way they engage, they realize, it doesn't have to be that I put in the maximum number of hours to get the maximum result. And in fact, that can be counterproductive. When we're burnt out, and that's the energy we're putting out into the world, we often will achieve less results than we are if we are genuinely rested and genuinely inspired and excited and connected.
Yeah.
And I think people can feel that too. We can feel that energy when somebody really is coming from a place of balance and inspiration. Like, we want to work with people like that ourselves. And of course, that's what our clients want. They don't want to go see the practitioner or the coach or the whatever who's burnt out, over it, stressed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so it sounds like pushing, we talked about pushing, is it a sign or like a symptom that you're out of alignment?
I think it absolutely can be, because if we're pushing, like, we've quite often probably gone into the mind, and we've probably attached to an external goal or a perception that things need to be a certain way. And look, that can definitely happen, and we can attach to things like, I need to make this amount of money, or I need to achieve this kind of outcome, or I need to launch at this specific time. Look, of course, we need structure and we need boundaries and things like that. But if we're living our lives in that very forced kind of way, absolutely, that can end up as being out of alignment. There's a time to work hard. There may be even a time for pushing. But if that becomes our default way of living, that's out of alignment. And it tends not to be a sustainable way to live or to work.
Right.
And we'll hit a point, if we're pushing, where all of a sudden we'll go, what am I actually doing? What's my end game here? What am I actually working towards? Is this what I actually desire? And that can create quite a lot of stress. We might find we're pushing a long way down a path that we're not even sure it's the path we really want to be on.
Yeah. Oh, I've probably done that before. It's like you're striving really hard. You think you're on the right path, but then it's like a dead end.
Yeah, whereas if we could have a little bit more balance around that and still have the feminine, like you said, of being able to tune in and sense and feel and respond. And it's really responding to what is. I think that's what we miss when we push, because we've already decided what we want, we've already decided what it's going to look like, but maybe we're not responding to what's actually going on.
So can you give like an example of what that would look like?
So if you have already decided that you want to achieve a specific outcome, so let's just say you've already decided that you're going to run, we'll just use a simple example. You decide you're going to run a specific course, and it's going to be these dates, and these are the number of people you want to have in it. So let's just say that's what you've done.
Sure.
And then you just push towards that goal.
Yeah.
So instead, you might, if you're actually tuned in and you're observing along the way, you might feel after a certain point, oh, that's actually too short a lead time, because I also have these other commitments, and I actually need to build up my mailing list a little bit more, or I need to ask some more questions from the people who are in my tribe to make sure that I'm creating something that they really want. But, if we're pushing, we've already decided. That's what's happening. That's when it's happening. This is what I want.
Yeah.
So can you hear what I'm saying? We're not really actually listening. And then we might, if we're in that pushing, we might get to that point and we launch and we push it out there and we're like, oh, it's not actually working, but we push. If we're responding, we might say, might actually think and feel and think, right, okay, well, this hasn't been the success I wanted it to be, but maybe I can incorporate this into something else, or maybe I can build on this, or maybe I can use this as more of a beta round and then ask people, what do they really get out of it? And then I can refine my marketing message. Mm-hmm. So can you hear it's that difference between just deciding and pushing, and then responding and being in the moment and listening.
Gosh, I think that is such valuable information to hear, because how many times do we get something in our mind where we think that, this is what I want to put out there. And then it's almost as if, at least for me, that's how I kind of thought that was how you were supposed to do it. And
well, it seems logical. It's very masculine. It's like you set the goal, you go after the go.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, so I only have a week left. I don't have the number of people I want. So it must be just time for, push. Isn't that, that would have been
Isn't that the only way?
Yeah.
And look, to be honest, once you got to that point, maybe that's just, maybe that is the best thing in that moment. Mm-hmm. But maybe it also is a time for like a complete switch off, even if it's just for a few hours. Take yourself outside, go for a long walk, go and have a shower. Sometimes we get those inspirations in the shower. I had one of those recently. Or just go do a yoga class. We actually need to, rather than just sit at the computer and just be like, boom, right, I need to make this happen. Yeah. Even when you've got that short time frame and things aren't happening the way you want, you need to find a way to switch off and allow yourself to listen and think, well, what message could I give at this time? What do people really need to hear? Can I tune in to the energy of the people who would be interested in this, and what do they need to know to help them to make this a yes?
Mm. Oh, I love that. I don't know about you guys that are listening, but that is like just that idea of taking a pause and tuning in, and not just putting something out there, but instead reflecting on, okay, what is it that this, tuning into your high self, what is it that, what's the message that people are going to receive? What is it they're looking to hear or understand? So it's like setting an intention, a clear intention before you take action.
That is perfect. Yeah, exactly right. It's just being so intentional and so conscious and not making it about you. It's actually really bringing it back to the people. Like, what do they need? What's going to really help somebody who wants and needs this, to really feel safe and comfortable to make this a yes for them. Because so many people, they're worried about making the wrong decision. They don't want to waste their money. There's so many choices and options out there for people. So it's just really respecting that as well and saying, this might not be about this being a bad offer, or it might not be about it being a bad idea. It's, I need to really get myself into the hearts and minds of the people who want to need this. What do they need to know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Ooh, that's perfect. I love it. So getting into alignment is one thing, but staying in alignment is probably a whole nother thing. So do you want to just briefly touch on that?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's really what we've been talking about. Like, you can get into alignment right at the start of your business. Like, I absolutely did. It's how I built my business. I was really quite shy when I started out. I wasn't going to go along to a bunch of networking events. That was never going to work for me. And so I did a lot of work around aligning to my ideal clients, aligning to the number of people I wanted to be working with. So doing all of that work, and then with that awareness, writing the blog post, sharing on social media, connecting, really, really thinking about that person who I wanted to work with. Where were they at? What did they need to know? Like, I need to make it really clear to that person how I could actually help them. Like, they're not even really probably half the time knowing that kinesiology exists. So how am I going to communicate with that person and help them to see that I can help them, and how? So that was the alignment for me earlier on. But for me and for all of my clients, we go, as you stay in business over a period of time, different challenges come up. So you might experience at some stage burnout. I did. My first year full-time in business, I burnt myself out. I didn't realize that you could love what you do and burn out.
Yeah.
I just thought I was like, really, I thought I was busy. I just needed a little break and I'd be totally fine. I could just carry on because I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not the case. I had a break and then I got sick and then I was just really burnt out. And it took me months to get over that. So I think that's a really common thing. So I had to bring myself back into alignment after that and really understand that I had to work differently. I couldn't just have my business model be that I see the maximum number of clients I can see.
Yeah.
And my idea was that a successful business was a busy business. I really had to link those two things.
Yeah. Like full capacity did not mean success.
That's right. It might look like success to the outside world. It can look like success, but when you're in it, that may or may not be sustainable for you and your energy. And then, as you go along, obviously other challenges come up. So would you like me to actually share a personal challenge that I experienced and how I navigated that? So,
Definitely.
I have done so much work on getting into alignment, staying into alignment. I have the same kinds of challenges come up that everyone else. So I'll have thoughts come up sometimes that are not congruent with what I want to create, or beliefs emerge. As you kind of grow and your business develops, you hit up against different barriers at different stages. And I've seen this with my clients. I see, sometimes clients who maybe their business is at that $1 million level or multiple $100,000 level, and they're hitting up against some of the same challenges they hit up against when they first went full time, or when they first hit six figures.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my gosh, who am I to have this? Or am I allowed? Do I have permission?
Yeah, it's like,
am I good enough?
Isn't it crazy that the same limits we keep having to kind of work through the next?
Yeah, it can be different things too, but it's certainly the same stuff can absolutely come up. So for me, like one time I really was able to so clearly see how the alignment work really supported me and, was so incredibly beneficial was at the end of 2013 rather. I had a situation whereby I was married, and that really completely imploded in quite a spectacular fashion. And
you did it big, huh?
Yeah. So there was, a bit of a secret life going on, and I needed to leave. And so as a part of that, I had to make a really quick decision about what I was going to do with my business. My family was interstate. I made the decision to move interstate. My business at that time was predominantly seeing clients face to face. So I made the decision to move online and to work with my clients via Skype. I was seeing at that stage probably 2 or 3 clients a week that way. So it was a really big change, and I had to really be able to communicate this. And then, there was quite a lot of drama going on in my personal life, but because of, I believe, all of the alignment work I had done, I stayed focused on my clients. I stayed focused on what I wanted to achieve in my business. I needed the business to stay stable because I had financial responsibilities that I needed to continue to maintain. And because of that, I navigated that period. My business really was one of the few things that did not cause me stress.
Yeah.
And I think, I really think that was kind of miraculous that it was able to sustain my clients really. A few people had hesitations, but enough people were really willing to give it a go and really still wanted to work with me, that they were willing to try doing it in a different way, that my business sustained itself. And in fact, we in Australia work in a financial year that starts in July and goes through to June. But in that financial year, my business actually slightly grew in revenue.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
If you really work on the alignment stuff, it can sustain you through the personal challenges that sometimes, we can all experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, life happens.
That's right. And isn't that what we all want, is to be able to create this business that will support us in the good times and the bad?
That's right. That's right. Ooh, awesome. So, to kind of finish up, I always like to end with a practical tip. So how can people integrate this in their own life in a small, practical way?
Oh, okay. We might use an acupressure point right now to help to integrate.
Okay.
So the acupressure point that just popped into my head right away was central vessel 24. It's also called conception vessel 24. It is right on the chin. So just holding this point that is on your chin, is right below your lips. And I'm going to tell you what this is about. So the conception vessel is about success, failure, and overwhelm.
Ooh, okay.
So coming out of a feeling of overwhelm and any kind of fears of failure or feelings of failure or any failures you feel like you may have gone through an experience of the past. And just as you're holding this point, we're just helping that to process and release. So this point that we're holding, it's about feeling frustrated with your lack of success.
And so it's your index finger and your middle finger on your chin.
Exactly right. So just taking some deep breaths as you are holding that, I just want you to think about any frustrations you might feel about a perceived lack of success. And it can be that feeling of, it's not happening fast enough, it's not happening the way I thought it would, when is it going to happen? And as we're holding this point too, we just really want to open you up to feelings of success and what it might feel like to be able to feel successful whilst living your passions, just doing what you love. Okay, and just release that.
I like
Beautiful.
it.
The other tip I would like to give, and it's going to sound like it's a really basic one, but I think it's so important, and I think it's something I see as a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, is make sure you get outside, make sure you are exercising, make sure you are eating well, make sure you are taking breaks.
Yeah.
And make sure you're getting enough sleep. And you might just think, oh my gosh, that's just so obvious. But it's like so often when people are in that pushing, striving phase and they want to achieve, those are the things that drop, and we just can create so many health challenges for ourselves. And I'll have entrepreneurs come to see me because they're like, oh my gosh, I have put on all this weight, or oh my gosh, my relationships I don't know what's happened to them, or they're really causing me so much stress now, or I'm just exhausted. And we can create those kind of problems for ourselves, whereby instead, if we were to really just keep some of those things in balance, keep exercising, keep eating well, it makes it so much easier for us to stay in alignment.
Yeah. Perfect. So, Kerry, how can people get in touch with you? Because I'm sure that all the entrepreneurs out there are just like, oh my God, I've got to hire her. I want to work with her now.
So you come across to my website at awakenkinesiology.com. You can also take a look at my course, which is alignandattract.com, and if it's not in session when you're taking a look, you can certainly sign up to the interest list to be able to hear more about that. You can also find me on Facebook at Awaken Kinesiology.
I love your name. It goes along with the Awakened Goddess show.
Oh my gosh, we're so aligned.
We are. Well, and for those who are in the Spark Spiritual Academy, I know you have an extra bonus item for them. So why don't you tell them what that is?
Sure. So we're going to put in there an audio for you, which is going to help you to align to allowing wealth as well. And
awesome.
With that, you're going to get a downloadable copy of my chakra cards. So you can print those off and cut them out. And then when you do the alignment using the audio, you can find out what your specific block is. So on the show, we've aligned to one specific block, but you can find out specifically what's blocking you. And of course, you could do that alignment more than once and clear a range of blocks around that if allowing wealth is something that you would really love.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. That is a beautiful and generous gift. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining me today. This was more than I even imagined it would be. So I feel fantastic.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a delight.
Yeah, awesome. And now I'd love to hear from you guys. The most awesome discussions happen after the show over at theawakenedgoddess.com. So get yourself over there and leave a comment right now. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, subscribe to the show. And of course, it would be absolutely amazing if you shared this with all of your friends. And if you want even more incredible resources, join Spark Spiritual Academy to get this month's entrepreneurial collection of bonus content. And until next time, goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Awakened Goddess. I hope you enjoyed today's show and took away something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at thegoddessnextdoor.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.